Blog Talk Radio.
You're listening to Talent Culture's T-Chat Radio. The World of Work is live now on the radio with Megan M. Biro and Kevin W. Grossman, because middle initials count.
Come down, turn the radio on. Take my hand, turn the radio on. Come on, my favorite song, baby. Let's dance, turn the radio on.
Welcome everybody out there in Talent Culture T-Chat Show land. It is Wednesday, August 19th, 1 p.m. Eastern on the East Coast and 10 a.m. Pacific on the West Coast. And welcome again to another show. We got a great show, two guests today on our show, and with you as always is myself, Kevin W. Grossman, and of course the lovely and talented Megan M. Biro. Hello, Megan.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, T-Chat community. What's happening? It is exciting to be here. What's up? Well, what's up is I'm thinking we need some new intro music. So just saying, you know me, always thinking, always keeping it fresh. You know what I mean?
You're done with the suburbs, right? Is that the name of the group?
Yeah,
the suburbs.
I've expired on it. I've officially expired on our intro music. So
Well, listen. Let's ask everybody out there. Let's ask everybody out there. Then why don't you guys send us some suggestions and we'll think about it. Because once in a while, as you know, we mix it up. Once in a while. But if we want a new ongoing one, I'm open. Let's do it.
Let's dance in the radio on. I mean,
send your entries. Send your entries in. Sure.
Well,
we could do
thinking that we're going to do that. So I want everybody out there who's listening either live or if you're downloading later, just send us some tweets around music ideas. I've got a couple, but I want to hear from you all. So that would be super awesome.
So we were talking. We are about the crowdsourcing, and we love our music. So we'd love to get your suggestions, and again, every once in a while we'll mix it up depending on the show theme too. But we'll get a new standard going. So in the green room before we started, we were talking about a couple of things. One of which is that I guess the first two female SEALs that are going to graduate actually have gone through training, which I think is a really big deal. Which celebration to that girl power and beehive power, as I say. But Megan, you had a story that kind of related to that. But why don't you share really quick with us, and then we'll dive into the show.
I was just catching up. Actually, believe it or not, John Mertz and I, one of our guests today, have spoken before, but we're really excited that he's on. And Danny Rubin and I were just speaking for the very first time, and you're going to find out soon, but Danny hails from a place called Virginia Beach. And, the one and only time I wanted to jump out of an airplane, a friend of mine was dating a Navy SEAL. This is a few years back. And she's like, let's get away, and I was like kind of feeling like I wanted to get away on a little vacay. So I went along with this idea that I was going to go to Virginia Beach, right? And it was like, if I'm going to jump out of an airplane, I'm doing it with a group of Navy SEALs. Like, that is like the only way you're going to get me out of an airplane. Lo and behold, we went, we had a total blast, met a lot of new friends, a lot of new SEALs and their friends. We had this whole community, party going on for about 3-4 days, block parties. They go big in Virginia Beach on all that. All 3 days I wanted to go, the weather didn't hold up. So I never got to go skydiving in Virginia Beach. And it's like embedded in my brain, that story. And I don't know if anybody else has any skydiving stories or any stories about Virginia Beach, but that's mine. So maybe at some point I'm going to head back there. And now that Danny and I are new BFFs, you never know. You may hear about us on the plane. You never know.
Hey, how about skydiving music ideas for the show? There you go. So
there you go.
So listen, real quick, we thank you for sharing that, by the way. Thanks to our friends and sponsors, real quick, Dice Jive, TalentWise, IBM, Career Builder, PeopleFluent, Smart Search, Workable, iSims, our social analytics partner, HR Marketer Insight, as well as the Candidate Experience Awards. And next week, not this week, but next week, I will have a very special announcement that I will share on the show about me, but we're going to save that till next week. So let's jump in. Let's talk. Yes. So last week we talked about social networking and how that helps the job search pay off. This week we're going to talk about why multi-generational leadership activism is in. There's a lot of talk about millennials, but we can also it's not just about millennials today. It's always about multi-generational, and you hear us talk about that quite a bit. And there we can all learn better ways to grow our own talent and leadership skills from the different generation. Engagement is out, activism is in, and we're going to talk about that with our guests today. So if you're there listening live right now, please tweet along in the stream. And then at 1:30 Eastern time, we'll jump into the Twitter chat with our guests as well. So Megan, who's on the show?
Well, I'd love a drum roll. Could somebody give me a drum roll? All right. First up, we have Mr. John Mertz. He's at Thin Difference on the Twitters. And John is a thought leader, author, and leader to watch in 2015 by the American Management Association. He is one of the top 100 thought leaders in trustworthy business and highlighted as a leader to watch in 2015. He's the author of Activate Leadership, Aspen Truths to Empower Millennial Leaders, and he brings together a cross-generational community, flair to him, inspiring millennial leaders around the world. Welcome, John. You've been a friend of mine in social for many years now, actually, and you're somebody who's a giver. And how do I know that? Because I've been hanging with you in social for so long. You share, you give, you've got an awesome spirit. Thank you for being here with us. Welcome.
Well, thank you,
Welcome.
Megan, and you've set a great example in that. So thank you very much. And Kevin, it's great to connect here as well.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Welcome, welcome. And next up, hailing from Virginia Beach, is at Danny H. Rubin on the Twitters. Danny is a millennial communications expert and author. He's a communication expert and author of the forthcoming book, Wait, How Do I Write This Email? A collection of 100-plus templates for networking, job search, and LinkedIn. So you can kind of go check his blog out, right? News to live by. He's always talking about really timely, exciting stuff over there. So what's happening, Danny? Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, and I love the Virginia Beach plug on the chat. If anybody on the chat wants to come hang out with me at the beach, let's go. Come on, we'll go sit in the sand and
Sweet.
Sit back.
Nice. I'm in.
Sweet.
Appreciate you letting me be here.
Well,
Welcome.
Welcome. I mean, let's start off with John, and we'll move over to Danny. But John, tell us a little bit more about your background and what led you to the topic that we're talking about today. And then Danny from ZA Beach will chime on in.
Okay.
Well, thanks. Yeah. So my just a quick background. I have a mix. I always joke that I have two chapters to my career. The first was in politics in D.C., and the second has been in high tech for the past 20 years. And more recently, the last 10 years in healthcare software industry, focused on marketing and business development. And as I was starting to read a lot about millennials and hiring my first team members straight out of college, I got nervous about blowing it. And from all the articles that were being out in the news about how this generation was so different, it really got me to think a lot more about it and what I needed to do and change as a leader. And through writing about leadership topics, really started to zero in about 3 or 4 years ago more on this multi-generational and really the exciting opportunity I believe millennial leaders present here and are showing and now in the workplace, which is just very energizing for me as an older generation leader as well.
An older generation leader, huh?
Yeah.
old man Gen X like me, John. Old man Gen X, right, John? Old man Gen X,
yeah, I
just like me.
A little bit above that edge, but yes.
It's called it.
Well, you and I are running neck and neck.
We're talking about labels. It's called the baby boomer. Everybody, get on board. So it sounds like you got swept up into this whole vortex around millennials, and let me tell you something. It's as timely as ever. I was talking about it like John was blogging about it years back, and it's like we're still talking about it. So clearly, lots to unfold today. Danny, what say you? What's your angle?
Yeah.
What led you to kind of become the author and expert on millennial communications?
So my background, I started my career as a TV news reporter, and now I work in public relations. My whole game is communication skills. And on my blog and in my upcoming book, my focus is helping particularly young professionals, but people of any age, to write and communicate in a way that is focused and interesting, and also respecting other people's time and doing a better job of explaining your own story so that you can turn heads in unconventional ways. You know, everybody writes a cover letter this way. You need to write it like this instead. And everybody writes an email for a job like this. You need to write it like this instead, with principles of giving before you get and understanding how to tell your own story in more defined ways. I'm always looking to arm and equip young professionals with writing and networking skills and soft skills, interpersonal skills that will help them emerge from the pack and make an employer say, oh, who is that person? I want to get to know him or her better.
What's leading, what I'm hearing, though, I'm reading between the lines, and Danny, frankly, there's a lot of other people talking and blogging and writing about the same topics, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the sort of thing that I'm hearing, though, about knowing how to communicate right, not wasting other people's time? What's that about for you?
So here's an example. I'm on a mission to blow up and reconfigure the cover letter for a job application. Right now, we always write, "Hi, my name is," and I'm interested in the position of blank. My approach, because I'm a former journalist, is to start the cover letter. The first paragraph should be a story from your career in which you show how you overcame a challenge and found success, a specific anecdote. Then you introduce yourself, and then you devote time to explaining why you want to work at that particular company with specific examples of what that company's done based on press releases or their website. So you do a much better job explaining your own ability and also taking a deeper interest in that company. And it allows you to not have to say things like, I have a great work ethic or I'm hardworking. The story sells it for you, and then you show you're actually interested in that particular company. It's not a cookie cutter to 100 different employers. These are the little ways, these soft skills, that elevate us in a place like a job market.
Danny, are you a digital native?
Meaning growing up with technology?
Yeah, like where do you
fit in the
spectrum? Yeah?
Well, of course I'm a digital native, but I also really, I think we talked about this on the preview last week, that a lot of these strategies are timeless. People love good stories. They love when you respect their time. They love when you take time to get to know them, and you don't just come around looking to take. So I'm trying to bring some of these classic principles of business or relationship building into the modern era with the tools that we have now. And that's a great joy for me, because I can see how it helps people and how it can make them become noticed and found. You know, prior to that, they were just a face in the crowd.
Yeah. So listen, that's. Do you find one more quick note on that? I'm just curious, because you got me wondering about this, because I hear this anecdotally and I've seen some research on this. Do you find, Danny, that the people that you're working with, that there's the communications deficit even coming out of college? I mean,
tremendous
that from a writing
deficit.
Perspective.
Tremendous deficit. We're trained to write in college essay form, where it's these bloated paragraphs and these long-winded, big, fancy words. And I'm all about, talk to me like you're talking to a friend. Let's chop the word count down. Rely on your stories. Don't give me any fluff. And rely on hard details, quantifying your success. When you reference something you like to somebody else, make sure you link directly to it, quote from it. Don't be vague. Do not be vague.
Yeah. Go, John. Go ahead. Jump in. You want to jump in on that? I was going to switch gears a little bit. Go ahead.
I think this is a great example of how new generation and older generations can really come together. I mean, what Danny's talking about and Megan with the digital native growing up in that sphere, and then you marry that with the small town authenticism. You get the right mix, because the old town or the small town is all about authenticity and story and making those deep connections. And by marrying that with the digital native aspect, you get the right element. And I think that's what Dan's really talking about, is bringing out those stories within the cover letters or other interactions that you have.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, it is. One of the things that I think we talked about this too, but just a quick note on that, the fact that we're all, I think it was Gene Meister, who's a thought leader in HR and talent management, had coined it, we're digital citizens. All of us are, not even though there are digital natives and millennials, that we're all digital citizens today because of how fast we're adopting everything. But let's jump to another question, John, because that relates to this whole idea of engagement is out, activism is in. Can you tell us what you meant by that? And then Danny, we'll let Danny respond as well.
Sure. Yeah, the whole concept of being activated or activism kind of has intrigued me here over the last few years, and then more recently when the Weber-Shandwick report came out, talking a little bit more about employee activism, it just really accented the point, I guess, about the difference here. And, engagement really is an old standard, and it hasn't worked. We've all seen the studies, 30% or less are engaged in the workplace. And so we need to adopt more of that activist mindset, which is really more of an elevated mindset. So if you think about what an activist does, is that there's some cause or purpose that is really motivating them. And not more than that, it's motivating others to join in. And there's really a clarity of the direction that needs to be taken and why that direction needs to be taken, and then also what needs to be done to move a group of people toward that objective and achieve that result. And I'll just imagine capturing that spirit of activism in a business place, in a workplace, and just imagine what that elevated purpose mindset can do to drive new revenue growth or better customer involvement in building out better products and better services, and building better relationships within the workplace or the community of people that are gathering to do work in those initiatives. So it is really that shift that we need to make in the workplace, and I think we'll see better results than we did in the engagement model.
And we're really talking about personal responsibility, right? Getting personal about the topic of leadership, which I think, that's a very relevant thing right now in the business world. There seems to be this whole new renaissance happening with regard to this. Do you guys kind of agree with that? And if so, yes or no? And, what examples of this renaissance leadership, this personal leadership, are you seeing out there? Whether it's, friends, colleagues, clients, case studies. Danny?
Well, from my perspective, personal leadership is, for me, how I am conducting myself in the workplace and taking advantage of the people and resources around me. Let me give you a quick example. Where I work at my public relations firm, my parents run the firm. They are the bosses. And
well,
so it's an interesting dynamic for me. Obviously, my mother and father run the show, but so here's the situation every week. At least once or twice a day, one of them will call me into their office and say, I can't figure out this thing on my phone or this thing on Facebook, or I just don't, can you help me? And so as the millennial, I walk over and I help my dear parents, dear boss, troubleshoot the problem. And it can be easy for a millennial to think, oh, I'm in the office now, I'm running the show, I understand how the world works, step aside. But I understand Facebook, they understand everything else. HR, client services, billing, contracts, agreements, running a business. So there have been so many times where I sit there quietly and watch them do what they do, or I ask questions because eventually I will run the business and I need to know how to do these things. So it'd be so foolish of me to think just because I know what a hashtag is and they can't seem to figure it out means that their time, it's like their time is over. It's nonsense. I think it's a huge opportunity for me and for people my age, 20s and 30s, to really gain from these people who have been working for 10, 20, 30, 40 years and figure out how it's supposed to go when it's our turn.
Right.
Hey, Danny.
It's not rocket science. Let's be honest with each other. It's not. This is an adoption issue. It's more of a behavior issue. Is it a generational issue anymore? I don't really think so. And I've been saying this actually for a number of years. I think, this whole talk of, you're a baby boomer, I'm a Gen Xer, you're a millennial is just complete hogwash, to be honest with everybody here.
Yeah.
I think, it's easy, it's sexy, it's a buzzword, it does well on Twitter, but, I feel like we're all kind of moving beyond this right now. And I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear that, we're not going to all, because all that's doing is dividing us. Really?
Yeah.
Right?
Speaking of dividing us, well, first, real quick, Danny, you could have your parents talk to me and John. We got them covered. All right, we can help them out.
Okay. Please, please. The hashtag just confounds them. Please.
Exactly.
Okay.
Secondly, though, and I'm John, I want to throw this back to you, and I want to hear both of your perspectives. But I want to get something that's been a little bit in the news of late, and I want to go back to your whole concept of activism, John.
Mm-hmm.
What would you, whether you agree with what has come out and the way that this company has been managed to date or not, couldn't you argue that what's going on in Amazon with Jeff Bezos, everything that he's ingrained since he's launched that company, right, has been about creating better products, better customer service.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on that? I'm just curious since it's so timely right now.
Oh, it is. It's been interesting to read, obviously, the New York Times article and then some of the subsequent LinkedIn posts and blog posts from different experiences. And, I guess somewhere in the middle of all of that, there's the truth. And, I think it's really a wake-up call for many businesses to really take a hard look at their culture and really understand what they are creating, either intentionally or unintentionally, and make the necessary changes to that. And I think, we get stuck in some of the old models. There's certain things that needs to happen. Obviously, in a business like Amazon, things have got to be delivered on time, because if they're not, customers are going to get upset and wonder why they paid for the Prime delivery when things aren't showing up. But then there's also, some, empathy and other things that need to come into the workplace more that brings that human dimension. And, as we talked about earlier, workplace, again, is one of those outdated terms, I believe, because really it's people gather together to do good work for an organization or for a larger cause. And really that's what a community is. And so you need to have that little bit more of a community perspective, I think, within the workplace. It doesn't mean that the work can't, needs to get done regardless, but there's a better way to do that and than just, ignoring, personal challenges that people are going through. That's where empathy really needs to come into play and have some understanding there.
Well, we agree. I know Megan and I feel about that too. So
yeah. Well, here's some interesting recent research from actually People Fluent. From over 600 millennials revealed that 80% of millennials want formal mentoring in the workplace. Are you hearing this as well? Don't we find this kind of either refreshing or ironic? I'm not sure which angle, to be honest with you, in real time. But, your thoughts on that, Danny?
Well, I think that says everything. Millennials, as not to paint with too broad a brush, but think, they know everything. They don't want to be taught. They don't want to learn. They just want to come in and they want to run the show. I think deep down, everybody wants to have someone they can ask questions to or learn from, work under, sort of guide them along. And I'm not surprised that a lot of people would say that, even maybe privately in a poll, may not say it in a staff meeting. But I think that's really instructive. And for people who are managing millennials, be willing to give of your time, offer advice, and then give young employees more responsibility, kind of step back, see how they do, if they sink or swim, if they need help, step in, bring them along, don't feel put off by them. But if they're clearly interested in a mentor, and they're so hard to find, and so often with my own career, I try to spread the questions around. If I have a question about X or Y, I find the right person. I don't have one person in my life who's like my lifelong. I think that's hard to find and a bit unrealistic. But across an office or across Twitter, the internet, LinkedIn, you can find people. And I think one of the best email subject lines you could ever write somebody is, "I need your advice." They're going to open it, and they're going to make them feel good, and it's probably going to be the best they feel all week. And they didn't even really get anything for themselves. They gave something, and
Thank you.
That's the hidden truth.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. And to the 50 people in my email box this week that want something and that are mailing me their book to my office, and I have a pile of 75 unsolicited books in my office, maybe that's a better approach. Just a thought.
Oh, that's to me. That's my go-to every time. If I'm asking for your advice. I'm not asking for anything more than that. I just want to learn from you. Maybe from that we build a relationship. But all I want is to know what you know.
I think that's a really brilliant point. John, thoughts on that?
We're real quick because we're down to 3 minutes. Yeah, and I want to make sure to let them talk about their books. But John, real quick comment on that, and then we can jump to the final things.
Sure. I think really mentoring is about sharing experiences, and I've learned a great deal from the experiences of the younger generation in our workplace, and I hope I pass something on as well. And to me, that's really what mentoring is about, is sharing experiences no matter your age.
Excellent. Well, very concise, John. Well said, both of you. So why don't we let's do this. We're down to less than 3 minutes. John, why don't you real quick tell us about your book, how we can get it, what it's about? And then we'll flip to Danny.
Sure. So the book is Activate Leadership, Aspen Truths to Empower Millennial Leaders. It's available in most bookstores, Amazon, as we talked about, I guess, earlier, as well as Barnes & Noble and other sites. But it really focused on lessons that aspen trees have. There's some really great characteristics of aspens that align really well to this new generation, and try to bring out some of those concepts and ideas, and with also stories from millennials and others of how to really activate those new leadership principles.
Awesome. Thanks, John. And I love aspens too, by the way. That's a creative approach to the topic.
Yes, they are wonderful trees. Yeah, great lessons there.
And Danny, tell us a little bit more about. Well, Danny, tell us just a little bit more about what's doing with your book.
Sure. So the book is called "Wait, How Do I Write This Email? Game-Changing Templates for Networking and the Job Search." I spent the last year plus putting this together, some content from my site and others that I've added in. It's 100 plus templates for networking emails, job search emails, LinkedIn templates, how to write handwritten notes, how to talk on the phone, how to write a storytelling cover letter. I'm trying to put everything in there I can to help people become more polished and professional writers and communicators. Everything I've been saying on this chat, if everybody's going down one path, you have to go down the other path, and it often comes down to how you explain yourself in small talk conversation and over email. So I'm really excited about this book, and I hope it helps people as they write these really tricky conversations that often make us nervous to press send.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for being with us today. We're going to bring this conversation over to Twitter, and thanks to our community for listening in and participating. We will catch you on the flip side. Thank you.
Indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Okay.
Thank you.